Thursday, night time, the 19th of Kythorn, in the year 1489, Dal Reckoning. Dear Journal, it's been less than 10 hours since I wrote my last entry, but so much has transpired since then. I need to recount all of it before it slips my mind. Besides, I'm too excited to fall asleep just yet. That ship we spotted on the horizon was gaining on us, blue sails and all. OV said it will be on us in 1 hour or less, and Guppy, who as it turns out has no less sea legs than him, agreed and said it was a brigantine, and that with the right crew, it would always outrun a schooner. Both the men and Anathia, being no stranger to sailing ships, have started conversing with the crew and Captain Eriak about what to do. Back home in the bogs and marshes, we only had rafts, barges and kayaks, so I felt of little use in this towering vessel of masts and sails. I quickly shuffled below to the galley and talked to the rats of the ship, trying to find out information from them about the missing cargo and loud noises the sailors complained about earlier. Aside from a bag of mouldy apples they pilfered for themselves, the endeavour was fruitless. Upon returning above deck, I saw the other ship had closed half the distance, even though our crew had seemed to set the sails and man the riggings for optimal speed. I sent trusty old Ziggy, who I have shaped into a seagull earlier, to scout over the pursuing ship. I climbed on OV's shoulders and asked him to watch over me, as I lose touch with reality when I see and hear through Ziggy's senses. I flew over to the other vessel and perched on the riggings under the mainsail. The ship had roughly the same amount of crew, but 2 ballistas versus the one we had on board. I do not need to be a salty seaman to understand these odds. But as Ziggy's eyes rested upon the man at the helm, a chill went up my spine. It was a gussied-up, full-bearded human captain, tall and ferocious, but his hair and beard were blue as lake water. My eyes opened wide as I snapped back from my trance, shaking OV's shoulders and blurting breathlessly, "Bluebeard! It's Bluebeard! He's coming!" Nika, the first mate, was reporting as much, as she peered the same thing with her scope. All eyes went to Captain Eriak, but he seemed to have frozen. Just last night at dinner, he said he would hire us to protect against Bluebeard, and now Bluebeard was coming for us. Guppy lost patience with the captain and started shouting at him, warning him to man the ballista or risk losing the ship in battle. The captain complied and gave orders, but by Guppy's frown I could tell our chance at sea battle did not look promising. Still, Bluebeard's brigantine was gaining on us, and as it drew to a parley's distance, its captain started talking. Never had I heard any human speak with such a thunderous voice from so far away. His words carried over the waters unnaturally. There was something both intimidating and inspiring about that voice, as it began to articulate a speech charged with pathos and emotion. He began to go on and on about his patriotism, and about how he is not a pirate even though some call him that. He then demanded we surrender the package we carried for the king, or risk being boarded. Several times he threatened us to give it willingly to avoid bloodshed. His speech ended with the words, "Fuck the king," which was taken as a cheer by his crew. To my surprise, OV, whose shoulders I was still mounting, raised his fist and joined them. "Fuck the king!" A few other sailors on our ship did too. Captain Eriak's brow furled and his face darkened. In a hasty minute, the 4 of us tried to come up with a plan of action. I'll admit, I'm still befuddled by how just 1 night ago, OV agreed to the captain's request to guard the ship from Bluebeard, but now took on the pirate's treasonous cry against the king. It seems to me I'd never fully grasped the machinations of human politics. Guppy suggested faking a surrender and tossing overboard an empty box as the package, hoping by the time Bluebeard is onto the deception, we would be free of his clutches. As no better ideas were suggested, we were now following Guppy's lead, in hopes of avoiding bloodshed. The half-orc tried to signal our captain to play along with the charade as he tried to commandeer the ship from him, but old Captain Eriak was either too proud or too thick-headed to cooperate with the ruse. "Mutiny!" he cried, and First Mate Nika swiveled the ballista at Guppy and gave him one final warning to drop his arms and release the captain. I could hear OV muttering below me, a divine incantation of some sorts. For a moment, both the captain and Nika's face seemed to calm, But then the first mate was onto the spell, and with a cry she fired the shaft. A sickening thud was heard as the harpoon lodged itself into Guppy's side with a burst of blood that sprayed the captain and the deck. I came to my senses, and holding the tome of elvish drivel, I recited the arcane words for the sleep spell. The first mate and another sailor dropped like flies. No more ballista fire. Sailor Tom tried to rush Guppy, who tried to explain himself again, but I guess the poor sailor only saw a menacing half-orc in front of him because he reached for his weapon. Luckily, Anathia stepped in. With all of her Aasimar ancestry, she glided through the melee, softly speaking to Tom and explaining to him about our ruse, softly and quickly. The scruffy sailor looked at her brimming face, and all malice washed away from his visage. Finally, he came around, and together they both went below deck to retrieve the artifact's box, minus the artifact.
Meanwhile, OV went on to tie Nika, the first mate, and I decided to crouch and hide inside a big coil of rope, not before tossing a druidic healing word on Guppy. The captain, who finally came on board with our plan, was mock-fighting with him, trading punches and body blows. Finally, we commandeered the ship, and Guppy ordered the truce flag be raised.
Where was Anathia and Sailor Tom? Why haven't they returned above deck with the box yet? OV went after them to see what was keeping them. Shortly after, a single yelp of pain followed by a thud was heard from below. Later I found it was the other passenger, author Gladwell Malcolm, who was a spy that tried to take the artifact by force, and it was Anathia, who chopped off his sword arm in one deft stroke. Bluebeard's ship was less than 200 paces from us now, and he asked for OV, who it seemed was known to his crew. OV and Anathia came up again, carrying the box. As they passed near me, I put an illusion spell on the box, so it would seem the metal rod was still nested inside, if one was to glance at it without trying to actually pick it up. Guppy, as the new captain of the Queen's Providence, ordered the spy Gladwell Malcolm to be lowered in a lifeboat, so Bluebeard's men would have to deal with picking him up as well, giving us more time to put distance between us and them. The plan worked. Bluebird's brigantine sailed north while we kept heading west, on course to Saltmarsh. Until their ship was over the horizon, we kept up the show, and we all made jokes about sailing under Captain Guppy. But jokes aside, I think he would make a terrific captain for real, and I would feel safe in any future sea battle under his command.
Good night, dear journal. I think I'm ready to fall asleep now.